Men of Reddit who had an uncomfortable encounter with a creepy woman. What is your story? I tried Tinder for the first time after a long toxic relationship when I was around 23 or something. I matched with a girl who I clicked with. We wrote for about 2 weeks or something until she decided we should meet. I was like, alright, it may be fun. That same night I woke up from her calling me around 2 in the morning and said she was going to be outside my house in 10 minutes. I thought it was pretty weird, to be honest, but the thought of being close to someone would actually be pretty nice. She parks her car outside my house, and when she gets out it's not the girl in the pictures on Tinder. She's much bigger and have a different hair color. I guess we are all a little shallow to an extent, and you shouldn't rate people by appearance, but this wasn't what I was expecting at all. She basically just shoved me to get inside, and she was horrible, vulgar, annoying, and the profanity she used was crazy. We sat in my sofa and she talked crap about her friends and family, and after a while she wanted to move closer and closer, and I just got up and made an excuse that I needed to use the bathroom. When I got out she was already naked in my bed and wanted to cuddle. I said I was very tired and had a headache. I just laid on the edge of the bed all night with my eyes wide open. After a while she snored. When dawn finally arrived I set my alarm clock and woke her up saying I needed to get to work. This was a Saturday, so it was a lie, and I think she knew. She was pee and demanded breakfast, which she got. I told her I needed to go and she said I can stay until you get home, and after that I just told her to get out. I actually went inside my car and drove to work, and she followed me the whole way. I got out, went inside the empty office and waited until she left. I unmatched her and blocked her number. Never heard from her after that. My friends love this story, but I really wish it was fake. Some years ago I was out at a nightclub with some work colleagues. We had left the office Christmas party and ended up there. While on the dance floor we were all watching this very drunk woman making her way around the club, groping and trying to kiss every guy. She eventually made her way to me and grabbed me from behind very tightly, grinding herself down my back. A female colleague who was opposite me was now laughing hysterically while I tried in vain to get her off me. After a minute of struggling I just grabbed her arms and forced her off me, then stepped off the dance floor. I was expecting some kind of backlash, but instead she just shrugged her shoulders and moved on to the next guy. If it was a guy going around groping women he'd have been thrown out by the bouncers. Instead she was left to continue harassing men without consequence. About 5 years ago, I got on a nearly empty train at the end of the day to travel home from work. I sat down and started reading on Reddit. As soon as the train departed, a woman appeared next to me who tried to get to my phone, accusing me of trying to film her, which I had not done. I had not even noticed her presence on the train before she was standing next to me screaming at me. She was highly aggressive. When she finally left, I felt the need to go sit somewhere else. So I went to the next carriage. A few minutes later, she appeared again with the train conductor, who wanted my side of the story. After showing the conductor I had no images of her in my phone, she tried to calm the woman down. No luck. So at the next station, another conductor came to me and I had to show the contents of my phone again. I chose to cooperate with the train staff to get them to get rid of this crazy woman. They still were not able to calm the woman down, as the train was due to arrive at the airport soon, where the train terminated, and I would need to change to another train. They saw no other option but to call ahead for the airport police. The woman demanded the police be involved, so they had to. Full stop. When the train arrived and all other passengers got off, the airport police came on the train and I had to tell my story again and show my phone again. I managed to convince them also I had not made any images of the crazy woman, and they said I could go. They asked if I wanted to file charges against that woman, and for a moment I was thinking of doing that. However, as I was really stressed out at this point and just wanted to go home, I just requested that they held her there until my next train had left, to make sure she could not go after me again as I traveled the last 15 minutes home on the second train. I'm Scottish and wore a kilt to a wedding in England. Big mistake. I'm no Jamie Fraser, but spent the night fending off drunk Karens who were super interested in finding out if I was a true Scotsman. That's why Scotsmen carry a grenade launcher. I went to a bar with some friends. Somehow, this woman discovered that I was gay and thought that it was okay to try to pull my pants toward her to look at my dong. Because you don't want to do anything anywhere ys. Vile woman. OMG, what a creep. I've told this story a million times already, but basically the TLDR is in college there was a girl who was into me and I wasn't into her. Went to a party, got really drunk and went and passed out in the host's guest room. Woke up in the wee hours with that girl laying in bed with me giving me a handy. At the time I wasn't really creeped out, more just annoyed and yelled at her for being a crazy freak and got up and walked home. My old friend Stacy did this to a guy once. I was too young to know how to properly react, but I was so shocked that I made it the last time I hung out with her. You're a psycho, Stacy. Used to work in a call center. One day sat down next to a middle-aged woman I didn't know. Couple hours in I caught her taking a photo of me. When I questioned her she said she'd sent the photo to her friends and their mummy group and they'd all placed a bet on whether or not she'd be able to shag me or not. Then you reply, well here's for an easy win. Just bet against you ending up in bed with me. I was at a swim meet away from my high school. My friend and I were hanging outside of the gym when this guy and girl who I never saw before in my life come up to us. I can't remember if they tried talking to us, but suddenly the girl starts grinding against me and the guy looks at me at one point and says, you like that? And my friend and I look at each other like that was the weirdest thing we've ever seen in our lives. I didn't respond to the question because yeah, I guess it felt good, but I had no idea who this girl is, so I'm just confused. I didn't want any trouble, so I basically keep my mouth shut even though I could easily push her off of me. Honestly, that might have been the most uncomfortable I've ever been in my life. Then they finally just walked away and I never really talked about it since. Out of all the stories, this one had me laughing the most. LOL, just so strange and random. I feel like they were M-heads. In college I was sat on the green during lunch break when a middle-aged woman walked up to me and asked for a hug. Before I could react she hugged me tight and kissed me on the forehead. I quickly got the heck out of there and scrubbed my forehead with disinfectant hard. She then proceeded to stalk me for a few weeks, and even though I reported her to the college nothing ever came of it. Eventually I dropped out for unrelated reasons, but a friend of mine who still attended told me a few months later a crazy woman was arrested for stalking and harassing students who fit my description. That's terrifying. I'm glad she was arrested. I hope you are able to feel safe. Some random woman grabbed my junk in the pub as I was sitting down in my football kit after I'd been playing football a few months back. I kind of just laughed and pushed her hand away, but in hindsight it's amazing how different it would be if the roles were reversed. Didn't even really think about that aspect at the time. I was sitting down in my football kit after I'd been playing football a few months back. I've kept sports gear on for an hour or so at times, but keeping it on for months is just gross. Not my story, but my cousin reconnected with a popular girl from high school many years after the fact through social media. She's all he ever talked about back then and she pretty much never even knew he existed. So when he told me they finally connected, I initially was super excited for him. Anyway, after a few months of talking to Lisa long distance, she lived about 3 hours away. They were scheduled to spend the weekend together and to go apartment hunting together. Yes, they had planned to move in together and start a new chapter together. My cousin even turned down a promotion opportunity in a new city to make things work with her. As he set off to go pick her up, he called me and was the happiest I ever heard him. On the way back from picking her up, my husband and I had plans to meet them for happy hour. A couple hours later I notice multiple missed phone calls from him. I finally called back and he's not picking up, just texting back that he's a little worried and is creeped out. Super confused, I'm trying to get the story out of him, but his responses are few and far in between. Finally, he calls me from a gas station bathroom to say that she's not the girl he thought he was talking to. She was not Lisa, but instead was Mary, another girl we also went to high school with. When he goes to pick her up, she casually strolls to the car and greets him and makes no reference to the fact that she's a totally different person. He was so creeped out that he didn't say anything to her and they continued on with the afternoon. She carried on as if nothing was amiss. Not to mention she had been using Lisa's photos, Lisa's life story, but was now also going by the name Lisa. It was so bizarre. The saddest thing is he really enjoyed this girl's company and they had actually hit it off before meeting up. He spent the day with her and then told her he had been called into work for an emergency. He dropped her off and immediately blocked her on everything. deleted his social media and eventually relocated the next month with work. This is still a touchy subject for him, so I don't bring it up. But I do know that he ever ran into someone who was in touch with the real Lisa and she was happily married and living in another state. We never will know what this girl's endgame was. My cousin was super depressed about this for months. It sucked. That would have made a pretty decent episode of Catfish. Bloody heck though, your poor cousin. When I was a delivery driver Pizza Hut, I was also going to school studying music. I delivered to this somewhat run-down hotel, and this like 40-50-year-old lady with a lazy eye came out and is chatting with me. I'm like 19, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. She says that she's studying psychology, and I'm like, that sounds cool, I'm studying music. She then asks if I want to come inside and study some anatomy with her, and I swear my already flaccid dong retreated further up into me. When I said no, I gotta get back to my job. She kept trying to persist and get me to come in and sleep with her. Was not very fun. And people say that they don't ever get laid as a delivery driver. We were in the early stages of dating. I told her on one particular night that I couldn't hang out because I was going to a family member's birthday party at a local bar. While I'm there I start getting texts from her and I respond because I'm able to. Something is off and I can tell. She eventually tells me that she's here and up at the bar but didn't want to come over. I don't know how she found out which bar we were at because I didn't tell her, and this was well before the social media takeover. I immediately told her I was well enough alone. She left and we never talked again. I have met that one girl on dating app. Had quick chat about me just moving recently to this area. That I am annoyed with my new flat because of the local shop below. That was in the evening, and the very next morning at 6:30 AM somebody knocked on my door. When I have opened it, there she was, a girl I was talking to last night, demanding a hug and a coffee because she was driving to me for 1.5 Not to mention that I had to leave for work very soon. She found me by that one detail I have her name of the local shop. It is popular chain shop in UK and I thought there are more of those shops in my city. Anyway, this was the first time I was scared to be one-to-one with a girl. Spent 2 hours on the phone in conversation with my ex telling her I wasn't getting back with her, was being polite. At the end she says, "Can I use your toilet?" She was sitting out the front of my house the whole time. Jesus Christ, at least you were being nice. She could have had a weapon. Hope you didn't let her in LMAO. I was 15. A close friend's 25-year-old sister would always tell me that if I was older she would have definitely dated me. At the time, I didn't think much or realized what was happening. She would kiss me here and there. While hugging me she would touch me in places. Made me help her choose what she should wear to dates and then changed in front of me. What the frick? A few months ago I was traveling on a bus and it was nighttime and pretty long journey. There was a girl sitting next to me, roughly 35. I am 20. So since we are sitting next to each other, I talked to her a few times but like casual, question and answer type talk. Then at one point I closed my eyes and I think I fell asleep for like 5 minutes. When I woke up, I felt her hand on my thigh and so close to my pee. I was staring through the window. I didn't know how to respond or what to do. Then I pressed the power button of the phone to show her I am awake, and she slowly removed the hand from there. It was super awkward and how dare she. I think this is the creepiest one. The others are disgusting or whatsoever but not creepy. My first visit to my sister's university. I'm 4 years younger. Her flatmate kept telling me how much she liked it up the arse. I think she was drunk, but I was way too immature to see it for what it was. She was the girlfriend of a close personal friend. First time I'd met her, we were having a conversation as part of a larger group and somehow the topic of butt stuff came up. We were all pretty tipsy, and I said something like, "I don't judge anyone who's into that, but I'm not. I think buttholes are disgusting." This girl said I was a prude or something, but for the rest of the night she kept following me around and trying to shove her fingers in my butthole. I told her to stop multiple times and it was very clear I was not kidding. She even remarked at one point that I was too tense, because she was making me nervous as frick, and you can't get your fingers in a tense butthole. This was all fully clothed and in a crowded room. A couple hours later we had gone out to a bar and I ended up alone with her and I told her how uncomfortable and violated she had made me feel and she just laughed and even sent me a meme about it the next day. I'm invited to their wedding next year and I still don't know how to feel about it. I was trying to reconnect with friends I hadn't seen in a while and all I ended up doing was running around a 800 square featuring apt clenching my butt checks all night. You're too tense. It's hard to get fingers in a tense butthole. Yeah, that's the point. I would not go to that wedding. Went out to a podunk nightclub with some friends. As soon as we walk in, a creepy older lady with 3 teeth walks up with outstretched arms and says, "Ooh, nice beard. Can I touch it?" I replied up. No, she proceeds to touch it, winks at me, and says, "Just the tip." Back when I was super into fitness and was in amazing shape, single digit body fat percent etc. I was working as an IT tech at a hospital and was under a nurse's desk doing cable management on a new PC install. She straddled me, lifted up my shirt and started rubbing my abs while a gaggle of other nurses cheered her on, making lewd comments about finally seeing what I was hiding under my shirt. Literally no one cared when I complained. I even stood before the director of the hospital, a woman, and she basically laughed at me and said that it was all in good fun etc. The gaggle of nurses all defended her, saying it wasn't as bad as he is claiming and that she simply accidentally kicked my shirt up when she went to get something off her desk. I started wearing skin tight Under Armour shirts under my work clothes, so even if my shirt ever accidentally lifted a bit, no one would have time to lift it completely to bare skin again before I'd be able to stop them. Sucks being a guy sometimes. I had zero support. Had a woman steal my shirt and grope me in a gay club and try to rip my underwear off. I had to physically remove her hands from my dong, and when I grabbed my shirt back, her friends started shouting that I had gone too far and couldn't take a joke. Just ban straight women from drinking in gay clubs, please. They ban them here in one gay club, or only allow a very few. There were many incidents of busloads of straight women having their hands parties there and using the other guests as their own free strippers dancers. They have a legal exemption to do so. There's a girl that just started working for me. I'm a supervisor in a warehouse environment that is conventionally highly attractive. She's much younger than me though, and I am not interested in younger women. Plus I am still talking to my ex, hoping to get back together with her after a break. She has absolutely no concept of personal space. She just pops up randomly rubbing against me or putting a foot on my stool and leaning in real close to show off her breasts. Keeps talking about how she doesn't like her boyfriend because he is a deadbeat and wants a real man. I must have mentioned the words my wife and I or my wife half a dozen times, even though I'm not married, just to put her off, and she won't stop. Right now I'm looking for a reason to fire her. She's been screwing up a bit lately at her job, so I'm hoping I can get past the coaching session I did with her, turn it into an official written warning and then let her go. A 14-year-old girl was all about me kissing her in the bushes when I was 8. To put in perspective, my sister's BF at the time had 2 little sisters. One was 16 and didn't really interact with me or my brother. The other was 14 and would always play with my brother and I. When we first met, she told me I was really cute and kept moving to sit next to me on the sofa. She'd always hug me whenever she saw me, and in general she was always super nice to me. One day my sister and her BF decided they would play Nerf guns with myself, my brother, and her BF's sisters. It was a fun game and I ended up teaming up with the 14-year-old. She led me to the bushes around the side of our property and asked if I wanted to kiss her. I kinda froze up, as I just had assumed up until that point in time that she had just been really nice to me. I panicked more because I had never kissed anyone than because I understood how gross the situation was. So I told her no and kinda just dipped out of the bushes and found my brother. I have never told anyone this. I never really saw her much after that, as she broke her back in a car accident about a month later, and by the time she was more able to be out and about, my sister had broken up with the guy. Fate was looking out for you. 14 years old is more than old enough to know that's fricked up. Heck, you were 8 and you knew. Drunk lady stumbles into the bar I hang at after work. I know all the staff, so they let me chill while they clean and close. It was about half hour before they officially closed, but I had been the only customer for the last hour, so they were basically done. This lady walks right up to me at this giant empty bar and kinda falls into my shoulder. She's talking nonsense, but I could tell by the bartender's reaction that they weren't gonna serve her. She started hanging on my arm, to the point where my friends thought I knew her. I didn't. I'm getting a bit uncomfortable, but I knew the manager was coming to tell her to leave and I didn't want to make a scene at a place I frequent. The manager was taking his sweet butt time and this woman, who has at least 30 years on me, started running her hand up and down my leg. I'm able to push her off without agitating her. She was starting to get pee that she didn't have a drink yet. The manager finally comes out and gets her out. As she's leaving, she flips the double bird while cussing out the staff. Super classy. The whole thing lasted about 20 minutes. I'm not one to be bothered by drunks. It's not the first and won't be the last, but it definitely soured my chill after work hang sesh. I've got 3. Once when I worked for the city as a summer job, I had to survey sidewalks and identify ones that needed repair. Real simple, easy job. Just walk and listen to my iPod. It was the late 2000s. You see, this really old lady approaches me and says, "Hey there handsome," and tried to strike up a conversation. I kinda just brushed her off and kept on with my job, but it was super uncomfortable, especially because I was identifiable as a city employee. It was very off-putting to just be approached in the street like that, so I sympathize with women who go through that regularly. She looked like she was in her 70s and I was maybe 20 at the time. Second, same job, same summer. I was in a poorer part of town and I hear a voice from a nearby house. I look up and it's a young girl, couldn't have been older than 13 or 14. And she said, "Hey, you want to come in for a drink or 6?" At which point I said no thanks and kept along my merry way. I have no idea what would have happened if I went into that house, but I get a feeling that it'd have been jumped and robbed if I had. Mostly because it's better than the alternative, which is that a young kid was so abused that she was acting out by propositioning random passers-by. Last one was at a house party and had a bit too much beer. I was laying on the ground near the bonfire, on the verge of passing out. This girl I knew, but not well, happened to be next to me. She stuck her hand down my pants, which shocked me awake. I of course freaked out and ran. 20 minutes later I had a crowd of girls around me telling me how awful I was and how I would never be able to get a girl as good as the one who just assaulted me, and how dare I make her cry. Jokes on them though, cause I did find someone who was much better than her, and we've been married for 2 years now. Night out with friends. Went to a club. Within 15 seconds of getting to the main floor, some woman grabbed me and pulled me away from my friends and took me to her group of friends, both male and female. They proceeded to surround me and make comments about my appearance and hair and wouldn't let me go. I'm not exactly comfortable in club situations anyway, but this made me feel really uncomfortable. On Facebook, I was once added by a friend. Her profile stated that she was in a relationship. When I clicked on it, that person was posing as me and using my photo. That was her alt account for sure. I had a girl just assume the role of my girlfriend without asking me, telling me how she felt, or even really speaking to me all that often. She just had feelings for me that she fulfilled in her own head by telling others we were together. When she met my real girlfriend, she acted as if my real girlfriend was some skank side piece. I had no idea what was going on until that day, and apparently loads of people in my village thought we were together. Not just because Creepy McGee told them that was the case, but because she gave them a terrifying amount of totally fake details about our relationship together. I had just turned 13 and was hanging out with a friend after Sunday school, who was 2 years younger than me, so it was semi-babysitting. Then one of the teachers, a woman in her early mid-20s, sits next to me and reaches her hand into my shirt and asks, "Is it warm in there?" I froze and didn't know how to act, mostly because I normally tried to be on my best behavior when I was around that friend, to be a good example. It was just a weird experience at the time, but now that I think about it, a really inappropriate thing to do. Churches be churchin'. Girl I met through friends. She wanted me to be her boyfriend and kept sending me inappropriate pictures and told me she wanted to be fricked in the woods and tied up to a tree. She got crazier and it culminated to her trying to break into my house in the middle of the night. When she couldn't break in, she called the cops on me, telling them I kidnapped her. It was a freaking crap show, but looking back on it I could laugh because the cops were trying to make sense of why the kidnapper was in his house and the kidnapped trying to break in. She was arrested, and honestly the last time I heard of her she was getting help. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.